Hi, I'm Michael Vandenboss, and welcome to a special episode of Michael and Movieland. In this video, I celebrate the Hollywood Hoofers, a tribute to the titans of tap with a tip-top trove of great tap dance clips from Hollywood musicals, all in celebration of National Tap Dance Day, May 25th. Now, I am not a tap dancer. I only play one on television. The TV in my mind. But I am a lover of movie musicals, and I get all tickled and a twitter over tap numbers, one of the most visually and orally thrilling, uplifting, and entertaining of all the dance genres that emerged during the early 20th century in syncopated step with jazz, vaudeville, Broadway, and sound movies. Tap dancing excites the eye and enthralls the ear with its rapid rhythmic rush of steel heel and toe palpitations. In 1989, the United States Congress passed into law that May 25th is the official day to observe tap dancing as an important art form. And since then, National Tap Dance Day quickly went international, celebrated by tap students, teachers, enthusiasts, and professional performers around the globe, as seen in director Dean Hargrove's wonderful 2015 documentary, Tap World. So why was May 25th chosen as the date to celebrate tap dancing? That's the date when the most famous and influential tap dancer was born, the brilliant and buoyant Bill Bojangles Robinson. Bill Robinson has been called the father of tap. He didn't invent that dance, but Robinson was arguably the first one to raise tap into a uniquely American dance form developed and mastered by African Americans, which had its roots in English clog dancing and Irish jigs. Bojangles burnished tap into an artistic dance expression that provides its own music, its own pulsating percussion. From the 1935 RKO musical, Hooray for Love, directed by Walter Lang, starring Ann Sothern and Gene Raymond, Bill Robinson makes a guest appearance. This is a brief excerpt from a longer production number called Living in a Great Big Way, and it's a fine example of Robinson's ease and lightness in his dancing style, emphasizing steps up on his toes and the balls of his feet. His choreography and tap sounds are noted for their clarity, rhythmic elegance, and a sense of almost floating just above the floor. Following Bill Robinson is a clip of another superb and influential African-American tap dancer of a slightly younger generation than Bojangles. This is John Sublette, better known from his stage name John Bubbles, who partnered with his pianist and singer Ford Lee Buck Washington into a successful stage act called Buck and Bubbles. The team appeared in a few movies during the 1930s and 40s. John Bubbles is acclaimed as the father of rhythm tap. As described by the American Tap Dance Foundation, John Bubbles revolutionized tap dancing by dropping heels on the offbeat, accenting rhythms with the toes, extending rhythmic patterns beyond the usual 8 bars of music, and loading the bar with a complex slew of beats. In this brief clip from the 1937 Warner Brothers musical Varsity Show, directed by William Keighley, John Bubbles plays a very jazzy janitor at a college, here performing a seemingly impromptu dance number as students watch and admire, including crooner Dick Powell. John's partner Buck is glimpsed playing the piano. Here are Bill Bojangles Robinson and John Bubbles, two titans of tap.
like that tonight and we're okay.
Shoot the liquor to me, John boy.
I want a lot of these potatoes and a poke.
Yes, really. John, something bad.
It's a fine place to be boning for exams. What do you kids want to do? Flunk out and close up the show? Get back to your rooms and crack a book. Come on. Come on. Here, come on, boys. Flunks, you got a lot of work to do. Come on, shake it up, Leg. Come on, get up there. Come on, boys. Come on. Get up there. Hey, Bubbles.
Yes, sir.
Show me that stuff you were teaching the kids, will you?
Gladly, sir.
Keep going, bud. Come on.
Now then.
Our next tapping legend, to borrow a phrase from the great jazz musician Duke Ellington, is beyond category. Fred Astaire was the dancer extraordinaire, not only a master of tap, but of ballroom and classical dance forms infused with jazz rhythms, all resplendent with that Astaire aplomb and panache, spectacular control, impressive inventiveness, and style with a capital S for swelligant. We start with a clip from the 1938 RKO Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers musical, Carefree. Ginger was Fred's most famous, and many argue his greatest on-screen dance partner. But what you'll see is an Astaire solo. For the first time on film, he plays not a dancer or a musician, but a psychiatrist who doesn't shrink from laying down some choreographed steps. In this scene, the dancing doctor is relaxing on a golf link, practicing his putts, when his patient, Ginger Rogers, enters the scene and throws off his swing. The psychiatrist's ego has something to prove, and this is when Astaire performs a hole-in-one combination tap and tee shots. He makes it look so easy, but typical of Astaire, the perfectionist, hours upon hours went into developing and rehearsing his dances. For this golf number, he took 10 days at 8 hours per day to master the strokes and taps for what amounts to less than 3 minutes of screen time. Here is Fred on the fairway like a tapping Tiger Woods.
You're getting terrific lengths with your drives, Dr. Flagg.
Thank you, Mr. McPherson. You're very, very encouraging. It's about time, Mac.
Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha.
Quack. Have you any suggestions?
Maybe you were hitting it with your subconscious mind. You know, the one that dreams. Smack it once with your conscious.
It'll go when I hit it.
Whatever happened to that theory of coordination you were so hot about? Doing several things at the same time.
Oh, that.
What?
Set 'em up.
When not appearing with Fred Astaire in their classic musical films, Ginger Rogers didn't do much dancing in her non-Astaire movies, but once in a while she made the occasional turn. Long before Renee Zellweger, Anne Reinking, and Gwen Verdon played the same role in the various film and stage versions of Bob Fosse's Broadway show Chicago, Ginger Rogers was Roxy Hart in the 1942 20th Century Fox comedy of the same name, directed by William A. Wellman. In this brief clip, Ginger, as Roxy, a young dancer, is in jail, taking the rap for a murder committed by her husband. Roxy's strategy is that a woman is hardly convicted of such a crime in Chicago, and the resulting publicity could improve her fading showbiz career. In this scene, she's been discussing her case with a reporter she charms and seduces, played by George Montgomery, and then exits the scene doing an impromptu tap dance up a flight of stairs. The dance was Ginger's idea. She was intrigued by the sound of tapping on a steel staircase. Here is Ginger Rogers, solo, tap dancing around the Chicago legal system from Roxy Hart.
This case isn't going to be like the others. Everybody's getting sore. The mayor, the newspapers, the preachers, the women's clubs, everybody. It never was like that before.
You're sweet.
Don't you understand? They're going to try to make you pay the penalty.
I never thought of anybody really worrying about me before.
If anything happened to you, Roxy, I don't know what I'd do.
How old are you?
25?
Well. Listen, sweetie pie, I'll tell you a secret. Any old time the going gets too tough, all I have to do is just say one word and I'm out. Just one word, that's all. So you needn't worry.
I'm so happy. Is there anything I can do for you?
Yeah, go find that Benham, that agent guy, and tell him I want some action.
Right away.
A proposition like this, you gotta keep it boiling, something new all the time. And when you got your whole future tied up in it, you gotta grab it by the horn and hit it while it's hot. Hit it while it's hot. Grab it by the horn, hit it while it's hot. Grab it by the horn, hit it while it's hot.
Now, I couldn't show you Fred and Ginger performing solo routines without bringing them together for one of their dazzling duets. I would be spurned by the international tap dance community, subjected to a swift shim-sham shellacking. From the 1935 RKO production entitled Roberta, directed by William A. Sighter, the only film in the Astaire Rogers series in which they are supporting players, billed below Irene Dunne, Fred and Ginger play former Indiana sweethearts who stumble upon one another in Paris. He's a musician, just arrived in the City of Lights with his jazz band to play a gig, and she's a costumer at a Parisian fashion house by day. By night, she's a cabaret performer masquerading as a temperamental former Russian princess. Only in an Astaire Rogers movie. In this clip, Fred and Ginger are rehearsing their respective acts in a nightclub before it opens. She has just finished singing the Jerome Kern Bernard Dougal song, I'll Be Hard to Handle, and we pick it up when Fred and Ginger reminisce about their time together in Indiana. This leads into an impromptu dance based in tap that is not just a routine of steps, but a story is communicated. It becomes somewhat of a challenge dance before the two become one in choreography designed by Astaire and his longtime creative collaborator, Hermes Pan. So many long hours went into creating these dances, but this one belies hard work as it feels off the cuff, completely spontaneous. Watch the joy in their faces as they whip and tap around the dance floor. It doesn't get much better than the Peerless Pair.
You know, this reminds me of the old days when we used to give shows in your barn.
Yeah, we used to fight over who handled the gate receipts.
You remember the Valentine I sent you, the one with the arrow piercing the heart and dripping blood?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I think that's the only Valentine I ever received.
It's the only one I ever sent.
Oh, those were the happy days, weren't they? You know, I think I was in love with you then, Huck.
I know you were.
You.
Me. And what's more, I was madly in love with you.
Oh, we were funny kids, weren't we?
Oh, I suppose so.
Remember that beauty contest I won?
Oh, you got a trip to Kansas City?
Yeah, well, you won it for me. How did you get all those men from the overall factory to vote for me?
That was easy. I showed him a picture of Lillian Russell.
Lillian Russell? Well, what was the matter with my picture?
Well, if you must know, we got a lot of votes from the farmers with the picture of a prize heifer.
Oh, you.
Here comes another dance duet meant to appear not as a pre-planned performance, but as a spontaneous combustion of rhythm. This is Doris Day and Gene Nelson from the 1951 Warner Brothers musical Lullaby of Broadway, directed by David Butler. The setting is a rehearsal studio where Doris is preparing for a musical show. In walks Gene Nelson, playing a Broadway performer who has more than a dance interest in Doris. They leap into a spur-of-the-moment tap set to the George and Ira Gershwin song, Somebody Loves Me. Other than how relaxed and at ease Jean and Doris are in this number, what's astonishing is that Doris hadn't danced in well over a decade prior to this movie. She originally trained to become a professional dancer, but a car accident in 1937 shattered her right leg, causing her to switch to singing. A very good move. So, for Lullaby of Broadway, it was her first time dancing since the accident. She was understandably nervous, but her co-star, Gene Nelson, an exceptional dancer and the film's choreographer, with the help of his dancer wife Miriam, gently guided Doris along, building up her confidence to get her dancing legs back. Watching the clip, you wouldn't know that Doris hadn't danced in 14 years.
Hello, doll. Who's inside? Somebody trying out?
Mr. Hubble has a little surprise for you.
For me?
Take a look.
Surprise!
The next tap twosome features the late great dancer and actor Gregory Hines, partnered with Suzanne Douglas, from the 1989 TriStar Pictures film simply called Tap, directed by Nick Castle. Hines plays a talented tap dancer, naturally, and a former felon who has just been released from jail, giving new meaning to doing the time step. He becomes enamored of a children's tap teacher played by Douglas. In this clip, they are on a rooftop romantic date when they ease into a tap accompanied by a song originally written for a Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers dance duet in their quintessential 1935 RKO musical, Top Hat. Gregory Hines and Suzanne Douglas add their own rosy glow to Irving Berlin's Cheek to Cheek.
No, Max.
Two of the more delightful dance duets in movie musicals share a kinship. They were performed by real-life brothers. First up are the spectacular Nicholas brothers. That's Fayard, the oldest, and Harold Nicholas, who got their professional start as kids, dazzling audiences in vaudeville and on New York City's famed Cotton Club stage with their acrobatic tap act. The syncopated siblings made a few impressive appearances in movies, including the 1942 20th Century Fox musical Orchestra Wives, directed by Archie Mayo, starring big band leader Glenn Miller and his orchestra. Here, the Nicholas brothers pick up the Glenn Miller hit tune, I've Got a Gal from Kalamazoo, from the Miller Singers. They proceed to steal the picture with 3 3/4 minutes of flashy footwork that, when all is done, will leave you searching the floor for your eyeballs. Following the brothers Nicholas are the brothers Kelly. That's legendary Hollywood star, dancer, singer, director, and choreographer Gene Kelly and his brother Fred. Fred Kelly was a terrific dancer and dance teacher who did not have a film career, but made his one and only appearance in a movie dancing alongside his older brother Gene. The film is Deep in My Heart, from MGM in 1954, a biopic about composer Sigmund Romberg, played by Jose Ferrer. Like other Golden Age Hollywood musicals about composers and songwriters, Deep in My Heart takes advantage of the studio's deep roster of musical stars, making guest appearances in one-off song and dance numbers. Fred and Gene sing and tap to a Romberg-composed tune about a behavior which I highly approve. I love to go swimming with women, in what appears to be a fairly authentic recreation of a vaudeville musical number. Here are the Nicholas and the Kelly brothers in relative rhythm with each other.
D, E, F, G, H, I got a gal. Where? In Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo. I don't want to boast, but I know she's a toast of Kalamazoo. Zoo, 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 zoo. Years have gone by, my, how she grew. Man, did she grew. I liked her looks when I carried her books in Kalamazoo. Zoo, 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 zoo. I'm gonna send a wire, hopping on a flyer, leaving today. Am I dreaming? I can hear screaming. Hiya, Mr. Jackson. Everything's okay. A-L-A-M-A-Z. Oh, what a gal, a real pipperoo. She's a fine chick. I'm gonna make my bid for the freckle-faced kid I'm hurrying to. Going to Michigan to see the sweetest gal in Kalamazoo. love swimming with me. I pretend that I'm a crab and their pretty ankles grab. Who wouldn't be a lobster in the sea? Oh, peaches all fall on the beaches, and picking them's my specialty. I get those Navy notions when I see floating queens. I dive right in the ocean and I play submarines. Oh, I love to go swimming with women, and women love swimming with me.
Taking us out in a blaze of glory is the electric Eleanor Powell from the 1941 MGM musical Lady Be Good, directed by Norman Z. Leonard, here dancing in the final portion of a lengthy production number featuring other performers. Powell taps to the George and Ira Gershwin gold standard, Fascinating Rhythm. It's an extraordinary number which was specifically designed and directed by Busby Berkeley. Powell starts off the tap dance small and then slowly builds it to a grand head over heels climax. Take note that the first 3 minutes of the number is presented in one long, uninterrupted take. No cuts, just Busby Berkeley's camera following Powell on a moving stage while the enormous curtain backdrop swirls and curls behind her and a plethora of pianists. It's a mid-tempo boogie-woogie that crescendos into a full orchestration of the Gershwin tune. Dressed in a slick tux and top hat, and with her air of calm confidence, Powell is the epitome of chic and cool. Heck, she's the Steve McQueen of tap. And all hail the Queen.
Won't stop thinking on me.